The alien ship landed gently on the green grass of a human park. The sky was bright and blue, and the wind moved softly through the trees. A group of humans stood waiting near the landing site, excited to welcome their new visitors from another world. This was a big day for Earth. It wasn't every day that aliens came to visit. The alien visitors, known as the Glornians, were tall, slim beings with bright blue skin and glowing yellow eyes. They wore shiny silver suits and moved gracefully, almost like they were floating. They had never been to Earth before, and everything here seemed new and strange to them. The leader of the Glornians, a serious-looking alien named Zolran, stepped forward and smiled in his alien way, which was more like a small twitch of the lips. He was curious about humans and had heard many stories about them, but now he was finally meeting them face to face. "Welcome to Earth," one of the human leaders said cheerfully. "We're so happy to have you here. We've planned a lot of exciting things for your visit, including a special tour of Earth's wildlife. We know you're very interested in our pets." Zolran tilted his head. "Yes, we have heard much about your pets. Our people are fascinated by the idea that humans live with other creatures. We hope to learn a lot from this visit." The Glornians had come from a peaceful planet where they did not have pets like humans did. On their world, animals were wild and stayed far away from their cities. The idea of living with animals was strange to them. They imagined that Earth pets must be tiny, soft creatures that humans keep for company. As the human leaders talked about the tour, Zolran and the other Glornians exchanged excited glances. They were eager to meet these famous Earth pets, expecting cute little creatures like they had seen in the pictures humans sent out into space. Cats, dogs, maybe even rabbits, small, harmless animals. "Shall we go meet the pets now?" Zolran asked, feeling curious. He had seen some pictures but wanted to see these creatures up close. "Yes, of course." The human leader smiled. "We have arranged a visit to a large estate where many different pets live. You'll see animals that are loved by humans all over the world." The aliens followed the humans to a large, shiny vehicle that would take them to the estate. The Glornians were quiet during the ride, their glowing eyes looking out of the windows, studying the world around them. They saw humans walking in the streets, children playing, and birds flying above. Earth seemed peaceful and beautiful. Soon, they arrived at the estate, a huge place with large green fields and tall trees. The Glornians were impressed by the size of the human homes and how much space they had. It was very different from their own planet, where cities were compact and people lived in small, tidy homes. "This way," said one of the human hosts, leading them to a big area where animals could be seen running and playing. The first thing the aliens noticed was the noise. Loud barking echoed across the field as big dogs ran around, chasing each other and playing with their human owners. Zolran froze for a moment, his yellow eyes wide with surprise. These animals were much larger than he had imagined. They had sharp teeth, strong bodies, and ran incredibly fast. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Zolran cleared his throat, trying to stay calm. "These are your pets?" he asked, his voice a little shaky. "Yes." The human guide laughed. "These are just dogs. They're very friendly. You'll see. We've lived with them for thousands of years." The Glornians stared as one of the large dogs bounded towards them, barking happily. The dog was huge, with a shiny coat and a big wagging tail. To the humans, the dog was simply playing, but to the aliens, it looked like a fierce predator about to attack. They stepped back in fear, their glowing eyes filled with terror. The dog's human owner quickly noticed the aliens' fear and called the dog back, calming it down. "Don't worry," she said. "He won't hurt you. He's just excited to meet new friends." Zolran and his team did not look convinced. They had never seen such large and powerful animals up close. They whispered to each other in their own language, clearly shaken by what they had seen. "These creatures are much more dangerous than we expected," one of the aliens said nervously. "Humans live with these." Zolrin nodded slowly, his mind racing. This visit to Earth was not going to be as simple as they thought. The humans seemed friendly enough, but the creatures they called pets were far from harmless. What other surprises did this strange planet have in store for them? The shocking reveal. The Glornians were still trying to calm their racing hearts after seeing the huge dogs. They had expected small, harmless creatures, but what they saw made them feel uneasy. The dogs looked more like wild predators than friendly pets, but this was only the beginning of their visit, and the humans assured them that there was more to see. "Let's move on," the human guide said with a smile. "We have many more pets to introduce you to. Some are even more interesting than the dogs." Zolrin glanced at his fellow Glornians, his bright yellow eyes showing a mix of curiosity and concern. The other aliens nodded in agreement. They had come to learn about human pets, and even though the first encounter had been shocking, they were still eager to understand more. Maybe the other pets would be less frightening, they thought. As they walked further into the estate, the sounds of barking faded away, and the group entered a different part of the area. This section was quieter, with tall trees and thick bushes surrounding the path. The air felt heavy, and the Glornians noticed how silent everything had become. Zolrin's long fingers twitched slightly. Silence usually meant danger on their home planet. The human guide stopped in front of a tall iron gate. "Now these animals are a bit more exotic," she said proudly. "We've taken great care to create a safe environment for them here. Don't worry, they're still pets, just a little wilder." Zolrin and his team exchanged nervous glances. The word wilder did not sit well with them, but they followed the guide through the gate anyway, hoping for the best. Inside, they saw a large open area with tall grasses and scattered rocks. At first, it seemed peaceful, but then Zolrin noticed something moving in the distance. It was hard to see at first, just a flash of orange and black against the green. Then it appeared. Moving gracefully through the grass was a huge striped creature. It was a tiger. The Glornians froze in their tracks, their glowing yellow eyes wide with fear. They had never seen anything like this before. The tiger was much bigger than any animal on their planet, and it moved with a deadly grace. Its sharp claws and powerful muscles were impossible to miss. Is that a pet?" one of the Glornians whispered, his voice shaking. The human guide laughed softly. "Yes, it's a tiger. This one was raised by humans from a young age. It's used to being around people." Zolrin could hardly believe his ears. How could humans live alongside such a dangerous creature? On their planet, something this powerful would be considered a major threat. But here, humans kept it as a pet. The tiger's golden eyes locked onto the group for a moment, and it began walking toward them. The Glornians immediately took a step back, fear gripping their hearts. The ground seemed to shake with every step the tiger took, its massive paws pressing into the earth. Zolrin felt his pulse quicken as the beast approached. Was this the end? But to their surprise, a human handler stepped forward, calmly raising her hand. The tiger stopped, sat down, and looked up at the handler like a kitten waiting for attention. The humans around them didn't seem worried at all. In fact, some were smiling, clearly proud of their control over the mighty creature. "See," the handler said, stroking the tiger's head. "He's very calm when he's with us. Tigers are dangerous in the wild, but here we've trained them to live with people." The Glornians were speechless. They had heard of humans being brave, but this was something else. The fact that these people could control such powerful creatures was beyond anything they had imagined. How do you manage this?" Zolrin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "This creature could tear you apart in seconds." The human guide shrugged casually. "We've been working with animals for a long time. Over the years, we learned how to train and care for even the most dangerous ones. It's all about trust and understanding." Trust. The word seemed almost ridiculous to the Glornians. On their planet, wild animals were always seen as threats to be avoided. The idea of trusting something so deadly was completely foreign to them. But here on Earth, humans treated these creatures like companions. The group continued walking, and they saw even more shocking sights. There were large birds with sharp beaks that could slice through flesh, and snakes that were big enough to wrap around an entire Glornian. Some of the aliens were visibly shaking, their fear growing with each new animal they saw. Zolran tried to remain calm, but it was clear that Earth was not the safe, peaceful place they had expected. Humans were not afraid of danger. In fact, they seemed to live right alongside it. As they left the area, Zolran felt a deep sense of unease. He had come to Earth thinking humans were a gentle, curious species, but now he realized they were much more complex. If they could tame such powerful animals, what else were they capable of? The thought sent a chill down his spine. This visit was turning out to be far more dangerous than he had planned. Panic in the park. The Glornians tried to stay calm as they continued their tour of the human estate. They had seen large dogs, a terrifying tiger, and many other dangerous creatures that humans kept as pets. Despite their fear, they kept reminding themselves that these animals were controlled by humans. But deep inside, they couldn't shake the feeling that something could go wrong at any moment. Now, the group was walking through a more relaxed part of the estate, a park-like area with open fields, flowers, and tall trees. The air was fresh, and the humans seemed much more comfortable here. A few families had gathered, enjoying a sunny day with their pets. Zolran, the Glornian leader, hoped that this part of the tour would be less stressful. He tried to focus on the peaceful surroundings and ignore the tension in his chest. Perhaps now they would finally see the soft, cute pets they had imagined when they first heard about Earth. "I think this area will be more calming," Zolran said to his fellow Glornians, though he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. Just as Zolran was beginning to relax, a new sound reached their ears. It was a deep, rumbling bark that seemed to shake the ground. Zolran's heart skipped a beat, and the other Glornians stiffened. The sound was coming closer. Before they could react, a large dog appeared in front of them. This one was even bigger than the ones they had seen earlier. Its fur was thick and dark, and its sharp teeth were visible as it barked excitedly. The dog was running straight toward them, its tail wagging furiously. To the humans, the dog was just being friendly. But to the Glornians, it looked like a predator ready to attack. The dog's loud bark echoed through the park, and the ground seemed to shake as it got closer and closer. Zolran's glowing yellow eyes widened in fear. "It's coming for us," one of the Glornians shouted in panic. The entire group of aliens turned and started running in different directions, their long legs moving quickly as they tried to escape. Some of them dashed behind trees, others ducked behind benches, and a few just froze in place, too terrified to move. The humans looked on in surprise, completely confused by the aliens' reaction. To them, the dog was simply trying to say hello, but to the Glornians, it was like being chased by a wild beast. Zolran ducked behind a large bush, his heart pounding in his chest. He could hear the dog's barking getting louder, and he peeked out, only to see the giant dog sniffing around, trying to find him. He held his breath, hoping the animal wouldn't notice him. Meanwhile, a few of the other Glornians had huddled together near a tree, trembling with fear. One of them, a nervous alien named Keltra, was breathing heavily, his glowing skin dimming slightly. "We're going to be eaten," he whispered, his voice shaking. Just when it seemed like the situation was about to spiral out of control, a human handler quickly stepped in. She called out to the dog in a calm voice, and the dog immediately stopped barking. The handler walked over and gently took the dog's collar, pulling it away from the terrified aliens. "There, there," the handler said softly, petting the dog's head. "You're scaring our guests." The dog looked up at her with big, innocent eyes, completely unaware of the chaos it had caused. The humans chuckled softly, amused by the dog's excitement. To them, this was all just part of the fun. Zolran slowly stood up, his legs trembling as he brushed the dirt off his silver suit. His fellow Glornians peeked out from behind their hiding spots, still shaken but slowly realizing that the danger had passed. The human guide, who had been watching the whole scene, walked over to Zolran with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Our dogs can be a little too friendly sometimes, but I assure you, they mean no harm." Zolran tried to smile back, but his heart was still racing. That was quite an experience," he said, his voice shaky. "We are not used to animals of that size, or that energy." The humans laughed again, clearly finding the whole situation amusing. But to the Glornians, this was no joke. They had been on the verge of panic, their minds racing with thoughts of being attacked or worse. As the group continued their walk through the park, the Glornians stayed close to each other, keeping a watchful eye on every animal they passed. Each time a dog barked or a cat meowed, they flinched, their nerves still raw from the scare. Zolran couldn't help but wonder how humans lived like this, surrounded by creatures that could cause so much fear. But at the same time, he admired their bravery. Humans walked among these beasts as if they were no more dangerous than a small insect. It was incredible to witness. But one thing was clear. The Glornians would never look at human pets the same way again. Humans explained their pets. After the panic in the park, the Glornians were still shaken. They had never expected Earth's pets to be so big, strong, and dangerous looking. Zolran and his team of aliens walked slowly behind their human guides, trying to calm their racing hearts. The humans seemed cheerful, as if nothing unusual had happened. Zolran, however, couldn't forget the loud barking, the giant dog chasing them, or the way his team had scattered in fear. He took a deep breath and decided it was time for some answers. "We must ask," Zolran began, his voice still a little shaky. "Why do humans keep such dangerous creatures as pets? On our planet, animals like that would be kept far away from cities. But here, you live with them." The human guide, a woman named Clara, smiled warmly. She understood why the Glornians were confused. After all, humans had a long history with animals, something the aliens wouldn't know about. "That's a good question," Clara said, leading the group to a bench where they could sit down. "You see, humans have lived with animals for thousands of years. It's a special bond we have. Long ago, we tamed many wild animals, like dogs, to help us hunt or guard our homes. Over time, these animals became more than just helpers. They became our companions." "Companions?" Zolran asked, confused. "But they are so large and powerful. How can you trust them?" Clara nodded, understanding his concern. "It's all about training and love. We raise them from the time they're small, and they grow up with us. They learn to trust us, and we trust them. It's like a partnership. Take dogs, for example. They are loyal, protective, and very intelligent. They can sense our emotions, and they know when to protect us and when to be calm." The Glornians exchanged glances, still not fully convinced. Keltra, the most nervous of the group, asked softly, "But what if they turn against you? What if they attack?" Clara smiled gently. "It's true that animals can be dangerous if not trained properly, but we spend a lot of time teaching them how to behave. We give them food, shelter, and care. And in return, they are loyal to us. It's like a family. Of course, there are some animals that are more difficult to tame, but with patience and respect, we can live alongside even the wildest creatures." Zolran's glowing yellow eyes narrowed as he thought about this. On their planet, animals were always considered unpredictable. They had never tried to tame them or live with them. The idea of animals being like family was strange, almost unbelievable. "So you believe that even the most dangerous animals can be trusted?" Zolran asked. "Not all of them," Clara admitted. "Some animals are too wild to live with humans, but we still respect them. Take tigers, for example. The one you saw earlier was raised by humans from a young age, so it's used to us. But in the wild, tigers are extremely dangerous, and we wouldn't try to keep them as pets. The key is understanding each animal and knowing how to live with them peacefully. Zolrin nodded slowly. He was starting to understand, but he still had doubts. The idea of trusting such powerful creatures was hard to accept. He looked at his team, and they all seemed to share his confusion. Another human, a man named David, joined the conversation. It's not just about training. Animals bring us joy, comfort, and even help with our mental health. After a long day, coming home to a pet can make all the difference. They show us love in their own way, and we give it back. Keltra, still anxious, asked, "But what about the bigger animals? The tiger? The snakes? How do you stay calm around them?" David chuckled. "It's not about staying calm. It's about understanding their behavior. For example, snakes are not as aggressive as they seem. Most of the time, they just want to be left alone. We study their habits, learn their needs, and make sure they have a safe space. As long as we respect their boundaries, they don't pose a threat." Zolrin leaned forward, intrigued. "So it's all about respect. You don't try to control them." Clara nodded. "Exactly. We don't force animals to act against their nature. We respect their instincts and work with them, not against them. It's a relationship built on trust and understanding." The Glornians were quiet for a moment, thinking about what they had just heard. Back on their home planet, they had always believed that animals were dangerous and unpredictable. But here on Earth, humans had found a way to live with them peacefully. They had tamed even the fiercest creatures, not through fear or control, but through trust and care. Keltra still looked uncertain, but Zolrin was beginning to see things differently. Humans weren't just brave. They were smart. They had learned how to live with the wildness of nature, and in doing so, they had built strong, loyal bonds with creatures that would normally be seen as threats. "I see now," Zolrin said quietly. "It's not just about power. It's about connection." Clara smiled. "Exactly. And that's what makes our pets so special." Fear and admiration. As the Glornians sat listening to Clara and David, their fear began to mix with something else. Admiration. Zolrin leaned back, his mind racing with new thoughts. The way humans spoke about their pets filled him with a sense of respect. These beings were not just fearless. They were wise. They had turned the dangerous into the delightful. After their discussion, Clara decided to show the Glornians more about human pets. "Let's visit the pet training area," she suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "You'll see how we teach them to behave and work with us." The Glornians exchanged nervous glances, but nodded in agreement. They felt a mix of fear and curiosity, eager to learn more. As they followed Clara and David to the training area, the aliens couldn't help but notice the different kinds of pets around them. They entered a large open field where humans were training their pets. There were dogs jumping over obstacles, cats chasing toys, and even birds flying in perfect circles. The sight was both amazing and overwhelming for the Glornians. "Look at how they work together," Zolrin said quietly to Keltra. "Humans and animals, side by side. It's strange but beautiful." Keltra nodded, still watching nervously. "But what if something goes wrong? What if one of the animals becomes aggressive?" Clara seemed to hear their concerns. "I promise we take every safety measure. We know our pets well. We can predict how they will act because of the training and care we give them. We build a bond of trust, which helps prevent accidents." Just then, a big black dog dashed by, chasing a bright red ball. It leaped through the air, catching the ball in its mouth before landing gracefully on the ground. The humans cheered, clapping their hands in joy. "See," David said, smiling. "They love to play, and they enjoy making us happy. That's what pets are about." Zolrin couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. The humans had such a special relationship with their pets, one that seemed to bring them joy and comfort. On Glorn, animals were only seen as sources of food or work. The idea of having an animal companion was foreign to them. As the training continued, Clara introduced the Glornians to a group of dogs who were learning to perform tricks. She held a treat in her hand, calling the dogs over. "Sit," she commanded, and the dogs immediately obeyed, sitting on their haunches and looking up at her expectantly. Zolran watched in awe. They listened so well. It's like they understand everything. "They do understand," Clara replied, her voice filled with pride. "Through repetition and positive reinforcement, we teach them commands and behaviors. They learn that when they obey, they get treats and praise." One dog, a golden retriever, seemed to shine with happiness as it performed a series of tricks. It rolled over, played dead, and even danced on its hind legs. The humans laughed and cheered, clearly delighted by their pet's performance. Zolran felt a wave of admiration wash over him. How can they be so talented? Are all pets like this? "Every pet has its own strengths and weaknesses," David explained. "Some are natural performers, while others might be better at guarding or companionship. It depends on the breed and the individual animal." The Glornians were silent for a moment, taking in all they had learned. Zolran's mind raced with thoughts of how different their lives could be if they had such bonds with animals back home. It seemed so simple yet so profound. But then, a loud commotion broke through their thoughts. A dog, a large and wild-looking breed, had gotten loose from its owner and was running around the field. It barked loudly and jumped on the humans, knocking one over. Laughter quickly turned to chaos as everyone tried to catch the excited dog. Zolran's heart raced. Is this safe? What if it bites someone? But Clara was quick to react. She calmly approached the wild dog, her hands raised in a non-threatening manner. "Easy, buddy. Come here," she called, her voice gentle but firm. To Zolran's surprise, the dog slowed down, its barking becoming softer. Clara continued to talk to the dog, coaxing it closer with a treat. Slowly, the dog approached her, tail wagging, and Clara successfully grabbed its collar. The Glornians stood in shock, watching the whole scene unfold. Clara's calmness was impressive. She had not panicked, but instead had shown confidence and understanding. "See," David said, grinning. "It's all about knowing how to communicate with them." Zolran felt a mix of fear and admiration for humans. They had a unique ability to manage situations that would leave others in chaos. Their strength did not just come from their physical abilities, but from their wisdom and patience. As they walked back to the main area, Zolran couldn't shake the feeling that humans were extraordinary. They had turned fear into friendship, chaos into connection. Maybe there was a lesson to learn here. Zolran wondered what it would be like if Glornians could learn to live with their animals instead of fearing them. Perhaps there was a way to bridge the gap between fear and admiration. As the group continued their tour, Zolran felt inspired. Humans had opened a door to a new way of thinking. Maybe, just maybe, their worlds were not so different after all. The scare. After their enlightening visit to the training area, the Glornians felt more relaxed. They had seen how humans interacted with their pets, and their fear was slowly fading. Zolran, Keltra, and the other Glornians were eager to learn more about this strange world and the creatures that lived in it. Clara led the group toward a large building that looked like a barn. "This is our pet care center," she explained. "Here, we take care of animals that need extra help, like those that are sick or abandoned. It's important for us to make sure every animal has a chance to be loved." The Glornians nodded, impressed by the kindness humans showed to their pets. They followed Clara inside, where they saw several dogs and cats resting in cozy beds, each one looking content and safe. The atmosphere was warm, filled with soft sounds of purring and playful barking. Zolran turned to Clara and asked, "Do all humans love pets this much? It seems like they are treated like family." "Most of us do," Clara replied, her eyes shining with pride. "Pets bring joy and companionship. They are part of our lives." As they walked deeper into the center, Kelter suddenly spotted a small room filled with cages. The room smelled different, a bit more serious. Inside were various animals, some with bandages and others looking a little sad. What happened to them? Keltra asked, a hint of worry in his voice. Clara's expression changed slightly. These animals are here because they need medical care. Sometimes pets get hurt or sick. Our job is to help them heal so they can go back to loving homes. The aliens watched as a veterinarian examined a small dog. The dog whimpered softly but seemed to trust the human. Zolran admired the human's gentle touch. He was starting to understand the bond between humans and animals more deeply. But just then, a loud crash echoed through the building. Startled, the Glornians jumped back, their hearts racing. They turned to see a large dog, a Rottweiler, had somehow knocked over a stack of crates. The crates tumbled to the ground, creating a loud noise that filled the room. Zolran felt a rush of fear. Is it going to attack? He whispered to Keltra, who looked equally alarmed. No one knows, Keltra replied, his glowing skin dimming with anxiety. The Rottweiler barked loudly, and the sound echoed off the walls. It looked excited, its tail wagging furiously. But to the Glornians, it seemed menacing and out of control. The humans, however, seemed unfazed by the chaos. Stay calm, Clara shouted, trying to reassure everyone. We can handle this. Zolran watched in disbelief as Clara walked slowly toward the excited dog. The Rottweiler leaped up, trying to greet her, its big body bouncing with energy. Clara remained calm, talking softly to the dog. Hey there, buddy. Let's settle down, okay? The Glornians couldn't understand how she could remain so composed. In their culture, a creature that large and loud would be seen as a serious threat. They held their breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. Suddenly, the dog darted toward the Glornians, its powerful legs carrying it quickly. Zolran instinctively stepped back, feeling a surge of panic. Get back, he yelled, his voice sharp with fear. But Clara continued to approach, her hands extended. No, it's okay. He just wants to play. The Rottweiler bounded up to Clara, and to everyone's surprise, it began to wag its tail even harder. It circled her happily, clearly seeking her attention. The humans around the room laughed, enjoying the playful spirit of the dog. See, David said, grinning. He's just excited. He loves new friends. Zolran felt a mix of confusion and awe. How could the humans be so relaxed? The aliens had just learned that humans could tame even the wildest of pets, but witnessing it up close was something entirely different. Clara knelt down, letting the Rottweiler lick her hand. Good boy. You just need to remember your manners. She used a firm but gentle tone, and the dog seemed to understand. It calmed down and sat beside her, panting happily. Zolran felt the tension ease in the room as he watched the transformation. The Rottweiler, once a source of fear, had become a friendly companion. It was amazing to see how Clara's approach changed everything. Still, Keltra was shaking his head. This is not safe. How can they let a creature like that roam freely? David stepped forward, sensing Keltra's unease. It takes time to build trust, just like any relationship. You have to understand the animal and allow it to learn about you. As the Glornians continued to observe, they felt their fear begin to shift into admiration once more. The way Clara and David interacted with their pets was remarkable. They were brave, but their bravery came from love and understanding, not just strength. Finally, Zolran took a deep breath, feeling inspired by what he had witnessed. Maybe we have much to learn from you humans, he admitted. Your connection with animals is unlike anything we have known. Clara smiled at Zolran, her eyes filled with warmth. And you can learn to see them differently. They can be friends, not just beasts to be feared. With that, the tension in the room melted away, leaving only a feeling of hope and curiosity. The Glornians were beginning to see the world of humans and their pets in a new light. A new view of humans. After the scare with the Rottweiler, the atmosphere in the pet care center began to change. The Glornians felt more relaxed and curious than ever. They had witnessed how humans interacted with their pets, and now they wanted to learn even more about these fascinating creatures and their relationships with humans. Zolrin, Keltra, and the other Glornians stood together, watching Clara and David as they engaged with the animals. The Rottweiler, now calm and friendly, sat beside Clara, who petted its head gently. The dog's tail wagged happily, and it leaned into her touch, clearly enjoying the attention. "Look at how happy that animal is," Zolrin said to Keltra. "It's as if it knows it is loved." Keltra nodded, still amazed by the transformation they had just witnessed. "I never imagined pets could bring so much joy. On Glorn, we only see animals as tools or food. We have missed something important." Just then, David walked over with a small kitten in his arms. The tiny creature had fluffy fur and big, curious eyes. "This is Whiskers," David said, smiling. "She's a rescue kitten, and she loves to play." Zolrin stepped closer, intrigued. "Why do you take in animals like this? What do you gain from it?" David looked thoughtful for a moment. "It's not just about what we gain. It's about what we give. Caring for pets teaches us compassion, responsibility, and love. They become part of our family." The Glornians exchanged glances, reflecting on David's words. They had never considered that their relationship with animals could be based on love rather than utility. This new perspective opened their minds. Clara encouraged the Glornians to join in on the fun. "Why don't you try playing with Whiskers?" she suggested, handing the kitten to Zolrin. "She loves to chase toys." Zolrin hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to hold the small creature. But when he cradled the kitten in his hands, he felt a strange warmth. Whiskers purred softly, nuzzling against his chest. Zolrin felt a wave of joy wash over him. "Look, she trusts you," Clara exclaimed, beaming. "That's the magic of pets. They can sense our feelings." Keltra took a step closer, curiosity overcoming his fear. "Can I try?" he asked, reaching out to pet Whiskers. The kitten responded by playfully swatting at his hand, and Keltra laughed, surprised by the joy that bubbled up inside him. "See, it's all about making connections," David said, grinning. "Once you break down the barriers, you'll find that animals can teach us so much." The Glornians watched as the humans interacted with their pets, and their admiration grew. Clara and David seemed to speak a language that the animals understood. They could read their moods and respond accordingly, creating a bond that felt both strong and delicate. As they played with Whiskers, Zolrin and Keltra began to share their thoughts about their own world. "On Glorn, we have animals, but they are not companions. They serve a purpose, and we keep our distance," Zolrin explained. "Maybe we have been wrong. Maybe we need to change," Keltra added. "If we could learn to treat animals differently, perhaps we could live in harmony with them." The idea sparked a conversation among the Glornians. They began to envision a new world, one where animals were seen as friends rather than just resources. What if they could build connections with these creatures and learn from them, just like humans did? Meanwhile, Clara noticed the shift in the Glornians. "You're starting to see things differently," she said gently. "That's the first step to understanding. Love and trust can change everything." As the day went on, the Glornians participated more actively in the pet care center. They watched the veterinarians treat animals with care, and they learned how to play with dogs and cats. Each interaction brought laughter and new experiences, helping them forget their initial fears. At one point, Zolrin noticed a little boy who had brought his puppy to the center. The boy laughed as the puppy tugged at his shoelaces, and Zolrin couldn't help but smile at the joy on the child's face. It was a pure expression of happiness, and it touched his heart. "Humans and pets share a special bond," Zolrin mused, glancing at Keltra. "It's beautiful to see." "Yes," Keltra agreed, nodding. "We have so much to learn from them. Maybe we can find a way to connect with our animals back home." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in vibrant colors, the Glornians felt a sense of hope. They had come to Earth with fear, but they were leaving with new ideas and a desire to change. They understood the humans were not just different, they were inspiring. Clara gathered everyone for a final discussion before they left the center. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you take these lessons back to your home. Animals can bring so much joy, and they deserve our love and respect. The Glornians nodded, filled with gratitude. They realized that this experience had changed them forever. They would return to Glorn with a new view of humans, pets, and the bonds that could be formed between species. As they prepared to leave, Zolran looked back at the Pet Care Center, his heart full. "We will remember this day," he said. "It is the beginning of a new understanding." With that, the Glornians stepped into their ship, ready to share their journey with their own people. They were no longer just aliens visiting Earth. They were ambassadors of a new perspective, ready to spread the message of love and connection.